Hi, I'm Lisa. Welcome to my studio. So in previous videos, I showed you how to make an awesome base or stand for your piece of art. Then I showed you how to fire it, and then how to finish the edge, and then how to fire polish it. So you've gotten all these extra fun, wonderful tips and ways to display your art. Well, we had some questions, we had some comments. Thank you very much. And the questions and comments were, how do you glue the pieces together? How do you assemble your project? So Nikki thought that was a phenomenal question. So here we are, we're going to answer that question here today. So in the previous video, I showed you how to create this type of base, a nice thick chunk of glass that really looks professional, gives your work a really nice professional look to it. Then I showed you in another video how to fire polish that big thick glass so that it has this beautiful professional quality sheen on there that just really reflects the light so differently. The benefit of having that shiny edge is look how you get so much more depth in this than you do in the ground edge. You get depth, you get reflection, you get a sense of it actually almost illuminates the art. Whereas when you have something like this with this brushed edge, your eye just stops here. It doesn't go any further. It doesn't go into that piece of glass. You don't benefit from all that extra work you did to create this large, thick piece. So you definitely want to fire polish it. So check out my previous videos for that. But today, I have a variety of different pieces here, and I want you to know when I get ready to glue my glass to a base, I do whatever I possibly can to make that happen. I don't have a magic wand or magic technique or trick for doing that. I use everything and anything at my disposal to try to make this glue to these bases successfully and be nice and sturdy and strong. So I use E6000 adhesive. If you're using something else that works, keep using it. Fine, that's great. This is what I happen to use. It is kind of like a honey consistency, so it can be a little messy to work with, and that can be a bit of a pain. But I've had good results with it, and I've had longevity with it. I've had my pieces be very sturdy and strong, and the glue lasts. And I can pick this up by the artwork and not worry about it falling off or breaking, so I'm really pleased with that. So I'm going to take these different projects and show you how I might go about gluing them. Now keep in mind, I use any and every kind of tape I possibly can. I sometimes use bubble wrap, I use foam, I use paper, I use cardboard, I use packing peanuts, anything and everything that will help. I use crumpled up newspaper if you happen to have any of that, crumpled up paper. I use masking tape, electrical tape, sometimes duct tape, but not too often because that's a little too harsh and heavy. But I use whatever I have at my disposal to make this work. String if I have to, whatever works to make this happen. Because a lot of my sculptures are three-dimensional, they're unique, they're one of a kind. So I may only have to glue this one time, never have to glue it again. So I don't have these fancy contraptions or clips or anything, although fancy contraption clips would be a great idea. I just don't have them. So let me show you on this piece first. Let's move these out of the way. This project right here, I have the artwork sitting diagonally on the base. The two pieces are, they're slumped in such a way that they slump at an angle, so they have this beautiful relationship to each other that gives them kind of a fan look. I glued them down here where the pieces of glass meet the base, and also right here where the two pieces come in contact with each other. Now, before these pieces are glued on here, I grind the bottom of the glass to make it flat so I have more surface area for the glue to adhere to, and to give the glass tooth. Tooth means I'm giving it texture. Imagine the tire on your vehicle. If it has no tread, how it slips all over the road. Imagine a tire on your vehicle that has tread and how it grips the road and you're safe and secure and you have more contact, more friction, and therefore a better fit or a better grip. Same thing with the glass. If it has a smooth, shiny surface and it's rounded, it's not going to stick as well. So the first thing I do is take that glass and grind it. You can use your regular grinder most of the time. Grind it down here to flatten it out so I have more surface area for the glue, more surface area for it to be in contact with the base, and give it texture so the glue will stick better. Now some people ask me, do I grind this? Generally no. Now if you wanted to for something very special, something unique, something very top heavy, you might want to take a Dremel with a glass bit and grind just a little groove in this base where these glass pieces are going to come in contact with that base. That would give the base some tooth and texture that would also help with the adhesion of that glue. So, okay, we got everything grounded. As I said, I generally don't grind that. The reason I don't is because if I don't do it in the right spot, I've ruined it. If the grinding bit skids. That happens, you know, when we drill sinks, sometimes the bit skids and slides and creates a blemish in the shiny glass. We don't want that. So that's why I generally don't. Now, if there's a reason why you're doing something really top heavy, you might want to do that. So that's, you know, your own discretion based on what it is you're building. All right, so this project right here, it's kind of tricky to assemble and put together. So what I do is I take things like this. This is a wire plate stand. This is another wire plate stand. And what I would do is kind of this type of thing, or this type of thing, you know, and wherever it can come in contact with that glass, there we go, that could work. And then I frequently will have something like this around a right angle to make sure that that glass looks straight, because you can be gluing it and you're not really realizing it might be straight this way, but maybe it's not straight this way or something. So you might want to have some sort of right angle handy to check that those pieces are nice and straight and vertical, because it's really easy to glue it like this. You don't want to, you want to glue it like this, straight up and down. So I would take these pieces here, I'd put glue along the bottom there, glue in the middle. Then I would take some, I would probably wrap it with some paper or paper towel. The reason for that is the tape doesn't stick well to the glass or the metal, the masking tape, but it does stick well to itself. So one option would be to just kind of, you know, put that glue on there, run the tape around it, have the tape sticking back to itself, make an adjustment. That kind of went funky there. Make an adjustment, double check that your pieces are straight. I'll rotate this so you can see what's going on here. Double check that those pieces are nice and straight. You know, just visually look at it and see if it looks good. And then let the glue dry overnight. After it's dry overnight, and I also place it on a table in an out-of-the-way location where there's not a lot of traffic and it's unlikely to get bumped while the glue is drying. And I generally let the glue dry for 24 hours overnight. Then you gently take the tape off. There we go. And then you have your, oops, still stuck on. Now it's sticking really well to the glass right now, isn't it? All right, take that off there, and then you have your wonderful, successful project freestanding. All right, something like this little itty bitty guy. I would probably just do something like this. I'm going to show you from the back. See how that rests up against that piece of metal really nicely? There you go. And then I would just put the glue on the bottom. And I would take this little guy to the stand. He doesn't look too unhappy about it. There we go. Tape him to the stand. Glue. Of course, I would grind the bottom of this little guy so he has some texture and it's nice and flat. And then glue it and let that dry overnight. And see how nicely that works. Okay, that little stand works nice and sturdy. A little, just heavy enough to hold that up. So that works out really well on that one. Now, come next week, if I make another one of these, I might do a totally different technique to hold it on there. It's day by day and whatever I happen to have in the studio and whatever is necessary for me to accomplish. All right, let's move these two out of the way. All right, this one's kind of tricky because there's two individual pieces on a base. And I got a bug around here bugging me. Oh gosh, oh, I got it. Yay for me. Strike one for me, one down for the bug, one up for me. Oh no, he's back. Another bug. All right, forget it. Okay, so grind the bottom. This is two pieces of glass here. This is 2 layers of glass, so it's much lighter, not as complicated or heavy as this one. Grind the bottom of these 2 pieces. Then I would probably put foam between them. Styrofoam, bubble wrap, paper, packing peanuts, a few of those tucked in there. Something to hold them apart, equidistant apart. I would definitely eyeball this with my straight edge. Now look how nicely those line up with this straight edge. I would do that. I would probably do it this way as well. I would do it this way as well. Look, well, they're a little different. This one leans out and this one leans front. These both lean a little differently, but that's okay. It's an organic 3-dimensional sculpture. So I would make sure there's something in between these two to keep them equidistant apart. Then I would take something like this, put it behind there like that. And this one happens to be working for quite a few projects right now, but it's not always the case. I could do it like that. I could do it like this. That seems to work the best right there. Okay. And then I would probably have something else over here. Maybe something like that. I would put some foam in here, and then I would tape it together with my masking tape. And again, put it somewhere in a location where it won't be bothered and let it dry overnight. This next one's really fun. This project is from my Creative Shapes video. It's called Grape Tulip. Beautiful project, a lot of fun to make, a lot easier than it looks. It's really all in the construction of the shape of the glass, the construction of this piece of glass, and then the molds that you put it over. So it's really very simple. But how do you hold this in place while it's drying? Well, guess what? Jars of frit just happen to nest beautifully right inside these flower petals. And look how nice that is. And then maybe another one over here for weight. So look, let me rotate this so you can see what's happening. Okay. So I put one nests right in there, another one nests in here, and this third one nests right there. And then you take, does this one fit here? Nope, not there, but it fits pretty good there. And then you take your tape, you wrap it all together. Let's get that so it's nice and snug. All right, I would be doing this a little closer to my body. All right, there we go. And now we let that glue dry overnight, and we have a very safe and secure project. The reason I like the jars of frit, they nest nicely inside the flower, and I use jars that are relatively full, so they have a little bit of weight to them. The weight helps support the glass. Now, every one of these pieces kind of rests on its own without the aid of these supports. Well, this one doesn't really. But this sits on its own without the aid of these supports. These are just to make sure it doesn't slide while the glue dries. And it doesn't shift. Because if it shifts while the glue is drying, then the glue is not quite as strong. It doesn't have that same integrity it does if it dries all in one place. So that's important. So here again, you can see I'm using whatever I happen to have in my studio, whatever will get me to my end goal, which this end goal is to get this piece of glass glued to the base. Okay, so we can take this apart now. So the glue has dried overnight. Now we take the tape off. You want to be careful when you take the tape off that you don't disrupt the glass. There we go. And now we have another beautiful project. All right, I'm going to move this one out of the way over here. Now this piece right here is a glass box, like a shadow box. Has a beautiful design with some trees and this beautiful, greenery, blue, and all these different fall colors. This awesome base here. And so you can see this is glued to the base right here. So I would have ground the bottom of this project to give it some texture. I did not grind this area right here. I've got another bug here. Maybe I can tape that bug. Oh, I think I got him. All right. Anyway, sorry about that. It is spring in the studio. And oh my gosh. Okay. We have to keep going. The show must go on, bug or no bug. All right, I'll move this out of the way. But it's really bugging me, I want you to know. So I hope you appreciate that we're out here. Okay. This one. I have this easel you might use if you're having if you're giving a presentation, or if you are doing a small painting on canvas, or you want to put out a book for people to see, or whatever. It's a cool little easel. It folds up nicely and stores away very low profile. I don't even know where I got this, but I'm guessing you get one at your art supply store. But anyway, this comes in real handy when I want to glue something like this. So what I do is put the base on the table, put the glass up against this area here, and then I take something, a straight edge, like a ruler, and I put it down here, and then I tape it in place. Okay. So what happens is, let me rotate this so you can see what's going on here. If I can rotate this. I can. Okay. All right. So what's happening is this horizontal beam is supporting the front. This beam back here is supporting the back. This prevents it from falling forward. This prevents it from falling back. It's adjustable because I can ride this up and down these bars here. I can make it taller for something taller. I can make it shorter for something shorter. It works really well for a project that's flat and straight. You know, the other projects that were more three-dimensional, had more curvature to them, it doesn't work so well. Now, I'm not saying you couldn't use it, but I'm saying this is my little method for gluing something that's kind of like a tower, an individual piece that stands straight up, where I can use these two things front and back to hold it. Also, it's nice that these two things are at different levels. If they were at the same level, it might have a tendency to topple over, you know, backward. If it were, you know, if they were both high, then the bottom tends to slip and slide while it's sitting on the base. So with this, I would also take my angled piece, I'd kind of eyeball it and see if it looks nice and straight. And if you can kind of eyeball it from over there, you can see it looks pretty good and straight. Yeah? Does it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe like that a little bit more. And that's just to make sure you're not, you know, like as I said, you're not gluing it slightly like this. Because once the glue dries, if it is slightly curved or slightly angled to one side, it may not be as strong and sturdy a display. And we really want this to be strong and sturdy because we put a bunch of effort into this. We put in time, effort, money, material, probably some tears, probably some blood, all goes into these projects. So we want to ensure once we get to this point that we have success, that it's on there, it's sturdy, it's strong, and it looks good. Has to look good. You don't want leaning Tower of Pisa, no. We want straight Tower of Lisa. Oh, sorry, that just flew out of my mouth and it was just so fun to say. I knew it was coming and I just went, well, should I, shouldn't I? Of course I should. You guys love it. Because I love you guys. You're so awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for everything. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you, my 10,000 followers, subscribers. You are awesome. All right, so let's rotate this around again so you can see what it looks like again from this perspective. And so super fun, super easy. Now, what I also would likely do is run a piece of tape around here, like this. Oops. Something like that. And then run it down here, something like that. Just as a precaution to ensure that this didn't slide on the bottom one way or the other. We don't want that to happen. Again, if the glue slides, if it slides slightly, during the course of gluing, I don't think it's as strong, and we want it to be strong. So I would probably add a piece of tape there, and you can see that the masking tape sticks well to other things. It doesn't really stick so great. Oh, it's sticking great to the glass today, but sometimes it doesn't stick really well to the glass. And maybe it doesn't stick to this because it's so textural, but it sticks to this nicely because it's smooth. And then again, I would put this on a table, off to the side, leave it overnight in an area of the studio that's not going to get disturbed, not going to get bumped. No one's going to go over and say, oh, what is this? You know how that happens in your studio, right? You got this project perfectly laid out. Everything's just where you want it. And you know you're the only one coming back into the studio. No one's going to touch it. And then suddenly you have company. And you love having company. You love sharing your studio. You love showing it off. You love walking people around, showing your creativity and what you're doing. But then they're like, oh, what's this? Boom. Okay, we don't want that to happen. So put it in an area where it won't get disturbed. And look, you can just lift it right off. You leave that on there if you wanted to. If you're going to make multiples of these, which I generally don't do. I generally do one of a kind because I love that. And then we just take the tape off, and then we just put this away and store it. So the big takeaway here is do whatever works for you. I don't have the solutions for everything. What I will tell you though is I try different things, and I'm not afraid to add a piece of styrofoam, a piece of cardboard, customize a piece of cardboard, bend it into a U so it's just the right, gives you just the right spacing on something like this. I'm not afraid to take a single packing peanut and tuck it in here to hold those pieces apart and tape it in place. So I'll use all different types of newspaper. Used to be great because you can kind of crumple it and stuff it in different areas. You can stuff it between some of these, you know, sturdy holders to bridge the gap between the holder and the glass, especially if it's something that's very organic, a very, you know, a very unique shape. You might need to do that. So just get out there. Make sure you give that bottom piece of glass a little bit of texture by grinding it. Flatten it out. Give it texture so the glue adheres nicely. And then play with different things so you get something that works. Now, I want to make a lantern that's square. I actually cut a piece of 1-inch thick styrofoam, cut it exactly the size of the inside of the lantern, and put it just in the top. What that does is prevents those sides from falling in on each other. If you're making something like that, you might need to do that. So just, experiment. Have tape handy, have different packing materials handy. Maybe an extra set of hands might be handy as well. And just experiment and find different things that work for you to affix your artwork to your bases, make them sturdy, strong, and give them a beautiful display. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for joining me. Thank you for the comments and everything. If you haven't already subscribed or not already following or haven't already commented or haven't already shared, please do all of the above. We love it when you do that. Also, become a premium video member. We have new courses coming out all the time. I've got 3 courses under construction right now over here in the studio. I'm not going to show you those. You have to wait and you have to be a member to see them. Anyway, so become a premium video member. We would love to have you. I have new stuff coming out all the time. Full-length courses, step-by-step video instruction. They also come with a printable pattern ebook with full-size pattern, firing guides, instructions, tips, material lists, color images. Everything you need to be successful making those projects. So become a premium video member. And until next time, happy fusing.